Hey FiA, I wanted to record a video. I initially started to do this for FiA KC and then realized as I think about the content, it really applies to a lot of regions across the nation, and I just thought it would be a good thing to record and kind of put out there. So tomorrow is an end of an AO for us here in Kansas City. It's one of the first ones that we had, started back in 2020. And it's the last day tomorrow. And so I've just been kind of reflecting on that. I'm queuing tomorrow, and I kind of wanted to share my thoughts. So here goes. On a personal note, in 2023, lots of stuff going on with me and my family, and it's really been the year for me of get back up, and constantly having to say to myself, get back up. And so as I've kind of thought about this theme that has kind of run through the year for me, it really kind of correlates to etiquette and FiA. And so I wanted to kind of share my thoughts about this. When we started etiquette back in 2020, many of us didn't know anyone, maybe one or two connections within the FiA circle, but most of us didn't know anyone. And over the last 4 years, as I look around, there are so many people that are still around from those first workouts, and many that were there at the very first workout, which is so cool. But there's also been a really unique thing that happens with FiA, not just for Kansas City, but for every region, where you show up and you find your people. And this means not just people that you're doing FiA with, but people that actually transcend that 5 a.m. hour, where all of a sudden you're spending time with them outside of FiA. They come into your home, they spend time with your family, you go on vacation with them. They're special to you. That's the point, right? That's why we're doing this. Not only are we working out, but we're building communities of people where you can find like-minded people, where you can find people that bring you joy. Women being able to be put into a spot where they're not moms and they're not at their job, but they can actually be somewhere and enjoy the company there. So recently here in Kansas City, the leadership team conducted a survey where they kind of wanted to be like, hey, why aren't you coming to FiA anymore? And it's funny because when I think about that, just being on the board for FiA and being in contact with lots of regions across the nation, I kind of already knew what the survey would look like. I went in and looked at it a couple days ago, and it was the same. And so I kind of wanted to speak to some of those things. But when you think about a region like Kansas City, we are almost 4. That first year was so magical. We were building something that, was so great, also in the middle of a pandemic. I mean, we stayed true during that whole time. Even though we weren't seeing each other initially, we were still meeting on Zoom. And as soon as we could, get to the point where we were working out again, we were there. But life can't stay the same. People can't stay the same. FiA can't stay the same. Etiquette can't last forever. And that doesn't mean that it's over or that things are awful now. It just means that they have to change because you have to allow for growth. You just have to figure out how to stand back up in a different way. As I think about the first year and now, I think the big difference is the commitment that we all had to that community at the time. It was so important for us to build it and to build it well. We wanted every single person that stepped into that circle to feel welcome. We wanted to be at every single workout. I mean, when we were together, we were already talking about what we were doing the next day. It didn't matter what the temperature was. It didn't matter if it was super hot. It didn't matter if it was super cold. It didn't matter if it was raining, if it was snowing. We were there. It was important, and we wanted to be there. We wanted to build that community. The energy that we created in that first year here in Kansas City was so contagious. And, it speaks to what we've built. We have this beautiful community of people now that, function inside of our FiA community, and it's because of what we did that first year. It still holds true. But just like anything else, things change, and people start to get comfortable. And I think the other thing that happens is you start to find your people, and it's easy to kind of settle in and not be what you were that first year. I think I'll never be shy to say that my best friends stand in the circle with me at FiA, especially here in Kansas City. But also, before I got here, my best friends were in the circle with me in Charlotte. And that's what FiA is for. That's why I joined FiA. That's why I joined it in Charlotte, and that's why I joined it here, why I started it here. That is what FiA is community. It's a community of women. It doesn't mean that I don't value the community because I'm sitting there with my best friends. I do. It doesn't mean that I don't want to show up and laugh with everyone who steps into the circle. It doesn't mean that if we're not friends outside of FiA that I don't want to show up and laugh and cut up with you. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to walk across the circle and say, hey man, good morning, how are you? I want everyone to be there and to have a fun time. And I think sometimes we all get wrapped up in life and seeing our best friends first thing in the morning that you forget that we're walking into this community that is important. And we all in that moment have to be able to share that time together. We have like this really unique opportunity to not allow crazy girl drama to seep into that space. I think anyone who has middle school age girls can recognize that like it is ingrained in us from a really young age to just kind of be crazy. So, I say fight the pettiness, fight the cattiness. Instead, choose to be charitable and kind, because I think this year for me, especially being on the other end of it, so many of us are fighting battles that you really just have no idea what's going on outside of that 5 o'clock hour. And the person that you see within that hour may be doing the very best that they can. So on this last day of an era for us here in Kansas City of etiquette, I just want to acknowledge the elephant in the room that sometimes being in a group of women is difficult. But right now, I want to challenge everyone in Kansas City and also those across the FiA Nation that may be also experiencing this in their region, to stand back up. Stand back up and be different and be better. It's a choice. It is such a choice, just like every other thing that knocks your knees out. It's a choice to stand back up. Standing back up looks like showing up to workouts. Standing back up looks like engaging and having fun in the workout. Standing back up looks like walking across the circle to the person you hadn't seen in a couple weeks and saying, hey, I'm glad you're here. Standing back up is signing up to queue. It's walking across the circle and saying, hey, if you want to queue, I'll help you. Standing back up is really just about caring about the FiA community. I think it's the analogy of, if you don't water the grass, it turns brown and then it hurts your feet. And then, I don't want to play there anymore. Words of wisdom from Jedi, maybe. I don't know. I just want everyone to really enjoy the community that has made such a big difference in my life over and over and over. Bye, guys.